and welcome to the latest SiGNAL broadcast. I'm Emma Selby.
And I'm Louise Eldridge, and we're really pleased today to bring you a guest who is very close to our hearts. We've worked with her a lot over the last few years in setting up our systems. And as the theme of the month is all communication, we've got a really exciting guest for you. Who have we got today, Emma?
So yes, I think communication is really essential for small businesses, and the platform that you use is absolutely critical, especially as you start to grow. So the person we've invited to come and talk to us today about small business communication is Suzanne Driver. So Suzanne has a company that specializes in Microsoft Office packages. She's a Microsoft trainer and she's a specialist in Microsoft Teams. So Suzanne, welcome to the broadcast today. Come in.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Nice
Lovely to see you. Oh, Suzanne, I have so many burning questions. I tell you what, it's all about Teams and all about Microsoft and how it can really, really help a small business. I'd like to start with sort of asking you about an overview of what your business does and how you generally help people on a day-to-day basis.
So Office 365, people use it to various levels. Some people use Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and others use much more of the business functionality. We're improving, and I have a real passion to improve digital skills amongst the workforce and to look at anything from spreadsheet modeling really to automation and even digital transformation and Microsoft adoption. So quite a wide variety of things. You know, most businesses will want a small part of that.
Fantastic.
Well, yeah, having worked with you a lot over the years, Suzanne, I can honestly vouch that you can start with the real basics, but before it can be intimidating, right? It can be, and you often think as a small business or a solopreneur, like, it's not for me. I don't need Teams. I don't know how to work with it. I don't need it. All I use is email. But there is so much more. And I think the beauty of what you do is to explore what a company needs and take it from there and build it as you go.
Yes, I mean, remember our journey back several years ago and where that's led you. But I think one of the things that you said there is people don't realise, because a team, we're always saying at SiGNAL, we need help, we need support, we're not on our own. And a team, who's your team? Your team's your accountant, can be, your team can be your marketing advisor. It can be anybody that you are working with. And therefore a team doesn't mean it's just one person in the business. You are actually collaborating with a whole lot of people anyway.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because I think one of the things that we've learned from you is that even as a sole trader or a very small company, there are many people externally to you that you work with very closely on a daily basis. In our case, we have a graphic designer, an accountant, as you say, a financial director, and all of these people we can work with through Teams and shared documents with them. So that's been a really important part of our journey as we have scaled into a larger business. And I think that's interesting for individual businesses to learn about. So shall we just go back a bit and explain what Teams does and what internal communications are and what they mean to a small business?
So from the point of view of, you know, internal communications is obviously keeping in touch with everybody. And it's very important. A lot of people spend a lot of money on marketing and external communications, but can forget internal, especially if there's only 2 or 3 in a team. Everybody does need to be fully involved and know what's going on with certain areas. We've had emails for well over 30 years. Wow. And emails are seen by Microsoft now as almost a thing of the past. A lot of people are still embedded in Outlook and other email systems and live with their emails. But the introduction of something like Microsoft Teams in the organization, and I'm sure you can back me up on this, can really reduce emails and the email side of things. And what I link it to really is like post. You know, people don't get lots and lots of letters through the door anymore. There was a time when we would do, or when we worked in an office before computers, memorandums used to be placed on desks and sent round buildings, and there was a
Well, you're showing our age now, Suzanne.
Yeah,
Stop
we
it.
don't remember those.
I don't remember it.
But that was a time when there was post, and you know, now we get important documents through the post and junk, and I think that's where emails are going as well. We get important information through an email and junk, and it's learning to manage those. All the rest of our collaboration and communication should be with something like Teams. It's much more fluid. You can follow the information much more easily. And just for those people who are listening and don't really quite understand what Teams is, so Teams can be like we're doing now. It can be just a meeting where you're having a conversation. It can be a training one that you split into rooms like Zoom does. It can be just calls, but it can be so much more. It can hold your document storage, your filing system. It can hold, you know, allow you to set up meetings, allow other applications, and it is so much more than just a replacement for Zoom.
I think, I mean, in relation to what you said there, going back to the emails, because traditionally, as you said, emails pour in, and then when you set aside time in your day to go through your emails, you're often dipping in and out of different subjects that you're involved in the business. Whereas without going into too much detail on Teams, because you know, some people may not be using it, but you can set up different areas of the business so that you actually focus on one area of the business at a time and all the information is in there. It's very, very difficult. And I don't think we appreciated how difficult it is to dip in and out of different emails and different subjects as you're going along, going through your email stack. Whereas you can, in Teams, you can set, and from our experience of using it, you can literally set aside time for different aspects of the business that you want to work in and have that focus time on that subject. It's so much more efficient. I can't say enough. It really is a much more efficient way to work.
Yeah, anything that you do switching in and out of whether it's a different topic or a different customer, by working with Teams, like you said, you can allocate that time to that topic and or customer and work with that. If you get emails coming in and you're distracted with that all the time, then you know, that can really change the way that you're working. Yeah. So yes, I think the communication is much more focused.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, of course, you know, you can send information. It doesn't have to be face-to-face or online face-to-face. Yeah. It can just be messaging people. And it also works with mobile phones and tablets. So you can be on a mobile phone out in the field. A lot of my customers have people out in the field as such, and they manage and access documents, even drawings and detailed documents through tablets out on sites.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you can also manage emails through Teams, can't you, as well as using it like a sort of Slack-based communication messaging system. Tell us a bit about emails and Teams.
So it's, well, it depends how you've got things set up, because if you set up a team, you can set up a team email, but most people would be sending the email. Sorry, Emma, I've got lost on that one. I'm trying to work out.
I was just thinking, I remember when you told us that you can actually send your emails into, each Teams channel has like an email address. Without going into too much detail, I remember thinking that's brilliant. Because
yeah,
if I want
each email has an email address.
So
yeah, sorry, that's the one you were thinking of. Yeah, so each Teams channel has its own email address, so you can send an email. So you could copy in, if you're sending it externally, you could copy in a Teams email and everyone else in that team would see that email that you sent, which is brilliant.
And really, it gets filed into that channel and it's there for reference.
Yes.
So very neat.
That's right.
Before we move off email, I know we've spoken about emails a lot, but I think a lot of people will be with me on this one, is that when you do reply to all and you get that email chain of everybody going, yes, agreed, yeah.
I'll be there. I won't be there.
I'll be there, I'm late, and everybody gets that reply to all. You can do sort of like, I think it's like a WhatsApp sort of equivalent chat in Teams, can't you? That you have somebody says something and everybody just comments on it. So you can quickly just flick through the thread and see what's going on without receiving like 25 emails on the same subject.
Exactly, that's all in there. And of course, if you're away, you've gone off to a training day, you're away on holiday, you're absent for any other reason, you can come back and look at your Teams, and instead of thinking I've got 50 emails to get through, you can just, and I'm sure you do this yourselves, you just glance through what's gone on through the different teams, and you know which ones are priority and which ones you can look at later on because they may not be important on day one when you get back, and you can just get a flavour of everything that's been happening while you've been away without having to trudge through lots and lots of emails and decide whether it's something you have to deal with or not.
But also, if you have a sort of team like we do, where a lot of the team don't work full time, I think that's really important. So if the people who don't work on a Monday can come in on a Tuesday, and it's all just read through it all. We don't have to have a meeting, we don't have to send emails. So I think that's been wonderful for us. Yeah, so we wanted to move on and just talk about, let's get down to the nitty gritty, which we like to do in this interview. How much does it cost? So I'm a small business, I want to set up with Teams, Microsoft, the whole package. What's it going to cost me?
The license that I recommend, and you need to obviously look at licensing, and I will say that Microsoft have added a new option to their, if you look up Microsoft Office Business Licensing, they now talk you through and suggest the best license for your business by answering some questions. Okay. And that's fairly new. I think that's really good. So it just goes through how many, what sort of organization. So try that. But the license that most people use that gives them Teams and all the fundamentals is Business Standard, which is £9.40 a month.
That's per person, per license.
Per person, yeah.
Incredibly reasonable, considering the functionality.
Well, when you think that you can replace Zoom costs, you can replace, in some instances, a planner, you can replace lots of different small applications. It is actually very good value for money.
And the golden question is, how difficult is it to set up, Suzanne?
Well, it depends whether you're talking about the whole of 365 or Teams. Once you've got 365, there are quite a few settings in there that you can go and tweak, and you may want to sort of spend half a day on. But setting up a team, whether we're focusing on Teams, once you've got it, will literally take you 5 minutes. Wow. But you need to think first about how you want your filing or document management to work. You need to think about who is going to access what, and you need to decide, like you did, how your teams are going to work within the organization, and also allow for organizations all change. So you need to allow for that change to occur, and that growth, or just reorganization and restructuring to happen as well.
Well, people in our experience, sorry, it took about a year, didn't it, Lou, to get used to it all. I mean, there is a culture change that has to happen. So yes, we got it all set up very quickly, and then it's getting people to use it correctly, isn't it?
Well, people that know me would say this is the A3 pad situation. I would get it drawn up and have a look and see who wants to talk to who needs. And I mean, I would say start simple, right? Start really simple, and as you grow, change things, but keep the basics really simple. I think you'd agree with me on that, Suzanne.
Yes, and it is important to think about, in a larger organization, probably not a small one, but confidentiality. You may not want certain people to see finance documents. If you've got obviously GDPR and everything, you have to be very careful with. So yeah, there's a little bit of planning and on a piece of paper first, but you can go straight into it and reorganize it from there as well.
Brilliant.
Thank you. So I think we just wanted to ask some quick questions now to finish up with. So the first of those, Suzanne, is what's your best piece of advice that you give somebody or a small company when they set about setting up teams for the first time?
I think probably what I've just said, the best piece of advice is to think about who you've got in your organisation, how you want the teams to work. In it, obviously each company, some have departments, some just work together. In a smaller organisation, everyone does everything. So it's thinking about who you want to do what, because otherwise everyone gets inundated with too much information. And I think that can happen as well. You might say, yes, we want everyone to be able to see everything, but it can be too much. So it's working out that and who you want to see. By all means, set up a team to get things trialed on and play around with, because that's important. But sort of longer term, you do need to think about your filing structure as well and how that all fits into it properly.
Yeah. The next question I've got for you is there anything that a few people might know? I mean, what's like a hidden gem of teams that you can share with us today? A golden nugget, as we like to call it.
Well, what I was really pleased to see very recently in Teams, and I don't know if you found it yet, but have you ever been on a Teams meeting where somebody has shared a screen? There's quite a lot of people in the meeting, so the bit that is being shared is quite small, and those people that wear glasses, you'll know what I'm saying. You turn your video off, take your glasses off, and peer at the screen, because you can't really see.
It's called a lean in moment, Suzanne. That's what's called the lean in
moment. Microsoft Teams have now put a new pop-out button on the top in the meeting that you press, and you can move that window to a different screen to view the shared information. It's fabulous. I love it.
Oh, I've not seen that yet. Oh, I look forward to seeing that. I'm always looking at the screen. Wow, that's
like
really
a new
good.
trick, Louise.
I love a new trick.
We'll practice that one later. Something to share. That's something to share, isn't it? Fantastic. And and finally, is there anything that has just come out? What's anything like the latest features of Teams?
So that's probably the latest feature, but also the other thing is PowerPoint Live. Now, when people are on meetings like this and you give a presentation, people's first thought is, I'll share my screen. I'll put my PowerPoint up and I'll share my screen. Have you ever done that? With Teams, if you scroll down when you share a screen, there's actually a feature called PowerPoint Live. And instead of sharing your screen, it's like embedded within that meeting. It's much more efficient and it works so much better. So that's another takeaway from today, is use PowerPoint Live. Don't share your screen with a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, fantastic.
That applies to Teams, of course.
Brilliant. Wow. I feel like we're really in the know now. Up to date with the latest features. That's great. Thank you so much.
Suzanne, before we let you go, I just wanted to find out a bit more about you and how long you've been doing this and what sort of businesses that you work with.
So I've been doing this for all of 25 years plus. Wow. And I was a Microsoft accredited trainer back in 1996, started off with just the Excel, Words, Access, etc. And I've developed my skills over the time and now work with Teams a lot, like you said, and SharePoint. But there are so many other applications that people don't realize within 365. So I've had to really learn a lot over the last few years and develop my skills a lot. And I work with customers from what you said, one person, to 4,000 people. And, you know, so it's a huge range, and I have different roles within the larger organizations to the smaller ones. With smaller organizations, I can help people adopt 365 and actually work with them to improve the way that they work. In larger organizations, then I may focus on the training elements, or I may focus on the automation or something like that. But I have different roles I do have different hats in different organizations.
It must be very different working with the 4,000 people to an internet to the single ones.
But it's really interesting to go back to that, in that this Teams works for people in really small organizations to massive organizations. You just adapt it to what you need it for. And it's really encouraging for small businesses to know that there's something out there that they can be using as well. So yeah, I think it's really important that people sort of have a look at it and communicate better, because that's what makes the business go round, right? Is communicating with your customers, communicating with your suppliers, communicating with everybody that you work with. So yeah, it's really key to having a successful and growing business.
A great thing to adopt if it's in your, the area that you can move to. Obviously, there are other products available, but Teams is my speciality.
You're not on the BBC now. You don't have to say that, Suzanne.
Yeah, we love Teams, and yeah, thank you for introducing it to us, and thank you for coming here to talk to us today. I think that's all we've got time for today.
We have.
But
brilliant, Suzanne.
Yeah, I think we've packed a lot in, some really useful information and some top tips. So thank you very much.
Suzanne is always on my speed dial, as she knows. Suzanne, lovely to see you. We'll see you again very soon. And thank you to everybody that's tuned in to watch today. We here at SiGNAL believe that nobody can build a business alone, and we firmly believe that. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Till next time.
Bye.